Hey everyone, so tonight is Thursday night, almost the weekend, and we're drilling, we're boring for our pegs. I already did, this is still the first frame, but it's getting kind of late, so I went ahead and I want to go ahead and film, just doing a couple holes or whatnot. So I guess let's get right to it. I got a huge knot right here too. It's not a knot coming out this way. This is like the through knot. So this ought to be interesting. But now the way I do my boring with the brace and bit, I mean, I'm not super accurate, but, whatever. There is a way to get it, you can cut, if you cut a notch in a board that's already, perfectly four square or whatnot, you can kind of stuff it up in there and clamp it down and run this up in the corner, stuff the bit up in the corner. I've been using this for quite a bit, so I'm pretty confident on being able to get it square just by, almost by, just eyeballing it or whatever, but I do kind of just check myself and just go to town, I guess, really. Now these are, I was going to go with 3/4 inch dowels, but I only had 2 sticks and I needed more, so the dowels that I'm using they're oak dowels. I just bought the dowels, I didn't make my own, but they fit real nice and snug in the hole, and if they were too fat, I would have just maybe thrown them in the freezer, kind of shrink them up, and then drove them in. If they were, and vice versa, if they were too small, then perhaps you can heat them up, or you put them in water, really, but that's kind of, I don't know, not the preferred way to do it, I guess. I made one slight correction, and now I'm right on the mark. Now I can just go right ahead and go right through. Once you get, I guess, about 1 inch or so in, it's going to just follow the hole. So you might be kind of all over the place, or think you are, but it's just following the hole. And if you lose your snail, the snail is what the little screw at the end is called. If you lose, because it bites and screws in, and the rest of the auger just follows. But if you lose it, just back it out. Get most of the chips out that you can, and go back in. Now we don't want to go all the way through with this because we want a clean hole on both sides. We don't want, tear out. So I know about where I need to start checking. And I'm going to pull the chips out just because, just back the screw off and then go back the other way so that you can still auger the chips out. So you got to go the opposite direction just so that you can, let loose of the snail. But, so we'll go all the way through to where the snail is just barely where the snail's just barely sticking out the other end, and then we'll come in from the other side and we'll finish off the holes. Yeah, it should be there. There it is. So that's one down. And it gets kind of warm, but I marked mine. When I did this, I went and I found center of the board between here and here, and then I went up 1 5/8 inches. 1 5/8 inches from either line there. So, and these are marked out. These are still marked from when I chopped my mortises in them. So that's what I used as my reference point. Now you could do this sitting horizontal, where the drill's this way. You'd be able to use your body weight into it. That's probably a preferred method. I just didn't do it this time. But so be it. It's not like this is hard or anything. You don't really need to put a whole lot of pressure here. The snail is what's grabbing and pulling the auger in. But if you do have weight, it goes a little faster. But I mean, this isn't a difficult process or anything. Now this is not, now normally I would draw bore. If I'm going to go through all this, I would draw bore, which is basically offsetting your hole a little bit closer towards where the two joints come together. That way it kind of, you know, just as it says draw board, but it draws it together. So one hole is going to be, you know, if we're looking at it like this, these holes on the top are going to be a little bit further, well, in this case, they're going to be a little bit further away from the joint, and that way when you draw the, when you drive the peg in, it's going to go in and find that other hole, go in, and then it'll find the other hole on the other side of the tenon, and it will, as you keep driving it in, it will pull that tenon into the mortise even further, and nice and tight joint. But I decided to glue this one since I'm kind of following the other video series and testing out, you know, new things. You know, why not type thing. And so this is more for, I guess, adds a little bit more rigidity to the joint, but I think mainly it's aesthetically pleasing, I guess. But it will give a little bit of rigidity to the joint. And you can tell I go around twice and feel for the snail. And there it is. So make sure you have all your tools off everything. This is really becoming a mess over here. I can't wait till the bench is done. so I can start building other storage and you know, have a place for all my tools and whatnot. So we just flip it over so we can access the other side. And the snail just barely came through in these two little spots. So you just stick it back in there. And this time you got to kind of press because you won't be able to, the snail won't catch because it's a hole on the other side. Duh. There it is. So now I have a nice clean hole where if I would have came straight through and it broke out and I had a bunch of tear out, and that wouldn't have been pretty. And normally when I draw bore, I
it's 22 hours.
See what I mean? I'm running out of space to put stuff. I don't like setting tools on tools, but I guess it is what it is right now. But normally when I draw bore, I use beeswax to kind of lubricate. I'll sharpen one end a little bit with a chisel, you know, kind of give it a bevel to, you know, be able to find the hole a little bit better for alignment and whatnot, so it doesn't catch and bind in the hole. And then I use the beeswax as like a lubricant, kind of, you know, lubricate the hole as the peg in the hole as I go through. But in this case, I don't want to, I'm actually just sticking them in kind of dry fit right now. And, because I can, if I popped it, see, I can still, they're snug in there, really snug, but I can still pull them out right now. I'll probably end up gluing them into place. And there's going to be 2 in each joint. So that's 8 per. So I just went ahead and made up 16. 16. These are 7 1/8 long, so that they stick out. And I didn't put a big chamfer on these, or like, you know, chisel it to a point of sorts, because there's no point. There's no draw bore here that it needs to find. It's just going straight through. So just be careful when you go through the other side so there's no tear out, but I mean really it's just a smooth process. It's going to drive a little bit of the leftover wood in there out, and I'm through. So you could get a screwdriver or pop all the other excess out of there. And it's not draw boring, obviously, but it's a little snug. I guess just a variant, maybe a bend in the dowel or something like that. Well, if they're going to stick out about an inch, or close 3/4 to an inch, something like that on either side, I say the pegs are 7 1/8, but we're not, I think that's what it was that I measured them to, but, well, let's see. Here's one. These are 6x6s I'm using, which start out at 5 1/2, and they end up at about 5 1/4 once you plane everything down. So this is maybe not quite 7 1/8, but somewhere between 7 and 7 1/8. So, I mean, I just kind of quickly sawed these up and sanded them down and made them nice and smooth and easy to work with. But yeah. So that's 4 down. 4 down and 12 to go. So nothing real sexy, but I am working on it tonight, and I'll finish this one off, and I'm going to bed, and I'll finish the other one tomorrow. It'll be easy day. And that's about it. If you have any questions or comments or whatever, leave them down below. Give me a thumbs up. Subscribe or whatever if you want to keep following the build. Friends and family, I love you as always, and everybody else. Hope you learned something, and I'll see you tomorrow.